What is this, like 13th, 14th? What episode is this even?
I don't know.
I don't.
13.
Somebody check YouTube.
13.
13? Okay, 13. We're just gonna go with it. You start. It's already. Are you recording already?
Yes.
Okay, good. So welcome to episode 13 of Audio Discourse podcast. Today we have a very special topic. Today we are talking about the state of Chi-Fi. Here with me are my usual co-host. Funny enough, he is the only person who is not ethnic Chinese and actually loves Chi-Fi more than the most of us. How are you doing today, Ant-Man?
Hey, how's it going?
And we have a fresh off the ranking list, Taranku, who ranks QDC at rank A and not rank S. I'm thinking about kicking him off the podcast. How are you today, Clark?
Hello, what's up?
Yeah. And we have Ken, who not is probably gonna rip on Chi-Fi with me. How are you doing today, Ken?
Great.
So probably the first thing I want to talk about, and I did talk about this a little bit with Anthony in the beginning with his one-on-one, is that I am not a fan of Chi-Fi, and I am because it's my job. I am specifically not very happy with their their business model as a whole. What I mean by that is that it's seemingly like not just like the cheap ones, even like the mid tier and the $500 and the $1,000 Chi-Fi, they seem to like pump out a lot of like IEMs in the like just one after another, and then they would like use a like this release hype, with these kind of like you get a hype around the release, and then people would get all hyped up about it, with albeit like having show reviewers or just like making hypes in like communities. A lot of people would. Oh, Corn's gone. That's a first. Ken, get Corn back. I don't like this re-recording thing. Where's Corn? God damn it. We're leaving this in here. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going. I don't like the fact that they have this spike of initial sales when they first release, and then it drops off like drastically, and then after a while, just all long and forgotten. Right? That's like most Chi-Fi. Like, I want to say like 95% of the IEMs, they don't really stick. But like there are stuff that like kind of sticks around, but like for the most part, they really don't. Like Anthony, isn't that kind of like their sales model, and they just keep having to like pump out like mediocre IEMs?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people in the industry about that. Some of our dealer distributor friends, and one of the things that is challenging for them to even carry like a Chinese brand is because of that type of sales model where it's quantity based, not necessarily quality based. In like in the US, you have to deal with warranty services and return policies and whatnot, and it's not really designed for like that type of model. It's designed to get a whole bunch of stuff out really cheaply, and for the most part, you're making your profit on quantity, with little margin. So it's kind of pumping out the next best thing like over and over again, which it's like hitting a target with blindly throwing darts at a wall without looking.
Yeah, and you're just welcome back, Corn.
Oh, sorry, I disconnected.
But that said,
That's okay.
Yeah. That said, there are
Go ahead.
companies out there who are, I guess, changing that culture or maybe that methodology a bit. Like Moondrop, who have a target curve and that they're trying to achieve. But still, a lot of the companies I think aren't really doing that. But some of the newer ones are trying to take that approach.
I think there are always exception to the rule when it comes to like, again, like that's why I say like we're talking about this like in general, right? And Anthony is right, because it's just the fact that they value like quantity versus quality, and they have to. I feel like it's more of a it's not like they're doing this intentionally. I think they know that their product have a very short lifespan, so they just keep and the market. It's not just the manufacturer's fault. I feel like the market kind of is like especially when it comes to like the sub $100 Chi-Fi, the market really likes to move on to the next new hype, like the flavor of the month Chi-Fi IEM thing, right?
Yeah,
And yeah,
it becomes a
and
when I first started looking into this and going on the Head5 forum and even Reddit and whatnot, uh, it gets addictive because you can buy most of these like KZ or maybe even Tin Hi-Fi and some of the other budget brands. I mean, you can get decent, I mean, not great, but decent sounding IEMs for like $30 to $50, and it becomes addictive just because they're so cheap, and you can try out a whole bunch of things, and you end up building this giant collection of, mostly like mediocre IEMs, but you get like a whole bunch of stuff, and I think that
yeah.
becomes addictive to a lot of people, especially because of the flavor of the month thing. The next best thing comes out 2 weeks later, especially for like a brand like KZ who release sometimes 3 to 4 IEMs every month.
Well, yeah, and they're not. There are exceptions. I think we should talk about like just like the cheap exceptions. I think um, I don't know, like 10T2 was the first one. That was like the real the cheap Chi-Fi that really stuck with the community. I feel like people were still like it. I guess question mark. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
I think also the VSonic, was it the
yeah,
GR07? I've never actually tried
yeah.
that one, so I can't really say how good or bad
Those
it
are
is.
not very. They're very neutral. Like they're very neutral even without any peanut gain. I think there's. I don't even know what they're trying to supposed to. I don't like the VSonic, but I think Team T2 is like the first one that stuck out of my mind. Um, I think the other thing is that I am going off the business model thing. It's not just the manufacturers. I feel like it's also the community that they like. I feel like the market is a product of the community hype that they realize. Like, I don't think the manufacturer would go on making all these random Chi-Fis if the community doesn't really support that kind of business model. So it's not like just the manufacturer's fault. I wanna say it's kind of like it's like like a circular thing. Like you're not gonna. I don't think you're ever gonna stop that. Um, but why don't we talk about the community? Why don't we talk about I guess probably not. And again, um, I don't think that's like the Singaporeans, like let's say Ken, like you
Yeah.
don't you don't try like you guys don't really have too much like Chi-Fi available to you guys, right? Just in Singapore, it's not even. It's kind of like a mystery.
It's a little. I mean, there are stores specializing in importing Chi-Fi, and I like what you mentioned about the community. I do meet quite a bit of people, and when I talk to them, they actually enjoy collecting a whole bunch of Chi-Fi, like what Anne say, like and it's they think it's interesting, it's fun to just like try and collect cheap stuff. Like they rather have tons of cheap stuff. They can spend easily a few $1,000s. It's not that they are poor or what, they have good
Well,
taste,
yeah,
you know, and they spend a few grand. They can get one top of the line easily. I mean the label top of the line. But typically they can get most stuff in the market if they really want, but they actually prefer diversifying their money and then just get multiple stuff, try the next flavor of the month. It to them
well,
it's part of the hobby. So that is some interesting thing, and because of that, I guess they do buy a lot of stuff, be it from the local store or from the online stores.
I mean, it has nothing to do. I don't think it has anything to do with anybody's financial situation. I'm not going to like speculate or. I think people buy whatever they can afford, right? And you did say like people have like a lot of people like you have a handful of like $50 Chi-Fi and they have like 10 of them and um there's nothing wrong with that, and if that's what you enjoy, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, you can't really listen to one pair of IEM, more than one pair of IEM at the same time. For me, I just don't see the point of having maybe you prefer different flavors, but this is my analogy. Have you ever had like those really bad tasting jelly beans? They're all like, you buy a bag of them, they're all really bad tasting.
Like Jelly Bellies.
Yeah, like Jelly Bellies. Like you would just buy like they will have like real fart flavor or some shit flavor. I feel like that's what it is. Like you might as well buy something. Like you buy a bag of really bad tasting candy and you don't like any, like they're just all bad tasting. Like I might as well spend a little bit more and buy something that's better. At least that's my thought.
The pear flavor is pretty good, but that's like one of the few ones I like in
Yeah,
Jelly
but
Bellies.
it's a mentality. It's just some folks like to go for hunt for a cheap deal, hunt for a good deal, and hunt for the best so-called performance to price ratio and stuff like that. But some people will go like, is this even good enough for me? If it's good enough for me, then I get, But a lot would just like to try more stuff. They just keep buying. They change a new IEM every few weeks. I mean, not exactly change, but they do buy. They keep some, they sell some. So they easily have like 3 to 5 IEMs at any point of time, minimum. There are some with more than 10, 20. I met a lot.
I mean, there's people who have like
I mean,
50 or 60 at a time too.
I mean, yeah, but like, is that more of like the thrill of buying stuff, or is it just like, I feel like that's less like you're kind of at that point you're getting away from like the hobby of like of into this portafile audiophile. I hate the word because you're kind of getting away from the audiophile hobby and you're just like the thrill, like you're just using this hobby as the thrill of buying stuff, and
Perhaps
that's
it's
really, yeah. Go ahead.
perhaps it's like the thrill of finding a hidden gem amongst all like the sea of Chi-Fi. I mean, there's bound to be
Yeah.
something that sounds great.
Yeah, but like that's like also like buying lottery ticket. If you like to do that kind of stuff, I would say you buy a Mega Million. I mean, the return. I feel like that the odds of winning a Mega Million is pretty much about the same of buying a bunch of $50 Chi-Fi and hit a good one. When was the last quote unquote giant killer? We haven't found one yet, so it's just
Yeah, but the same mentality folks apply to those that actually they do buy Chi-Fi. They buy other expensive stuff. They also buy expensive Chi-Fi. So with this exact same mentality that
yeah. And I think I like how you brought up the expensive Chi-Fi. I think we can move on to. I'm also not. The other thing is that there is this extreme amount of price creeping that's within Chi-Fi. Is that like back in the day, like when you say Chi-Fi, people think about, oh, it's like KZ or whatever, $50. Yeah, some of them are okay, some of them are really bad. Kind of a hit and miss. And then like I see really just people gradually moving towards more and more expensive IEMs, not just in Chi-Fi in general, but like especially now people are very willing to spend like recently we see a lot of like $1,000 Chi-Fi popping up on the market, and some people are very willing to spend the money. Like back in the day, those people were like, oh, I just spent $50 to buy Chi-Fi and try it out. Now the same mentality like applies to like $1,000 Chi-Fi, which is a very big difference, and in my opinion, like kind of getting very ridiculous when it comes to like the price creeping. Like what are like, okay, how about this coin? What are some of the most like recent $1,000 Chi-Fi that you can think of?
The Tier Audio V14,
Yeah.
the Shure EJ07.
Yeah, and the Fearless released their like the hybrid line, right? They're all about
Oh yeah,
The Dawn.
yeah
Paladin series. Yeah,
the Paladin, and they're all like $600 $1,000, and what else? Like
You
I'm
got
trying to think of the top one.
QDC
Yeah.
and Unique Melody.
Well,
And
those,
Doo-Doo.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
those
and
have always been expensive though. They
yeah,
are.
they have always been expensive.
Those have
That's the
always
thing.
been expensive,
It's,
yes.
it's just the thing because I think people are conditioned, like these same people they like to buy anything. It doesn't matter, right? The price, and they are really thinking that, hey, getting a Chi-Fi is like buying a lottery ticket, like what Raj said. And hey, I may find a hidden gem, and when the Chi-Fi prices increases to like 1,000, they still think that, hey, if I get this $1,000 IEM, there's a chance better than that $3,000 IEM from another brand.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah. So that's the mentality that they have. It just carry on from whatever, and there could be veterans in the hobby. There could be newbies, but they all think that same way when I speak to them. And when and talk about Unique Melody, QDC, they are brands that started expensive. Their stuff are not cheap, from the start. Like their cheapest stuff is probably like 10 times cheaper than a cheap Chi-Fi,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cheapest QDC is $120. The Neptune, the single BA, right? And that's almost always like that's already expensive than probably the most expensive KZ. But that's going back to like the very expensive Chi-Fi. I that's I you have there's a line that you need to cross that I don't really like. I'm very okay with. But people can spend their money however they want. You want to blind buy something that's $50. That's your power. But at the same time, I would never buy something super expensive without trying it first. And just because like due to the lack of availability in North America and even in Singapore, honestly, just because these Chi-Fi pop out so often, manufacturers cannot like distributors cannot like carry them fast enough to keep up with the hype of the month, like the flavor of the month. So a lot of people, like even in the East, start blind buying these IEMs, and I'm very not okay with this kind of business model. I feel like it's some kind of scam. Like it's like you release this product real quick and it's $1,000, right? And nobody has tried it, and some people take the plunge, and a lot of reviewers would like they would send them to reviewers, and not to say like the reviewers are good or bad, but for $1,000, I don't think I want to take anybody's words aside from my own, and Anthony, I don't know what you want to say because you're one of the Chi-Fi reviewers. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, but I don't review anything that expensive typically from Chi-Fi unless I buy
you
it
don't,
myself.
but yeah, but you don't. But I'm saying like, what's your thought on this?
Well, I think. Let me think about this. I think I don't know if for most of these brands if they scale as well moving up as like the budget stuff. So I think definitely the budget Chi-Fi is in a lot of cases they using the quote, they punch above its weight. But when you scale up to like the and I haven't tried all these $1,000 plus IEMs, but I don't, the ones I have tried, I don't think they necessarily, they're not equivalent to like a $3,000 IEM or $2,000.
Oh, they're not even equal to their.
They're more
their
like
$1,000.
Yeah, they're more like they're comparable to the same European or American or Japanese brand IEMs at best in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily getting price to performance necessarily. You're probably getting maybe equal performance to something of a more well-known brand.
Yeah, and from the people that have heard, I'm like Corn and Ken. I don't know, Corn, you want to chime in on how mediocre this $1,000 IEMs are from China?
Which was in particular though?
I don't know, man. Whichever one you want to talk about. I mean,
he likes the Chi-Fi. He likes the $1,000. He likes the plus.
Does he? Does he? He doesn't like the Roland. He doesn't like the EJ07. He says the V14 is pretty mediocre. So what's good right here?
Yeah. Honestly, like if I were to spend $1,000 on Chi-Fi, it probably has to be QDC or Moondrop. I wouldn't spend. I mean, currently based on what I've heard, I wouldn't spend $1,000, like $1,000 on like random Chi-Fi that people hype up once in a while
without trying it.
So one likes the ones that are under 1,000.
Yeah, but like over $1,000, like about $1,000, maybe like 14 or like 12. I mean, you will probably get the A series, but we'll probably get to that later. But like, there's really nothing that's out there that's over like what the V14 is like $1,200, right?
It's a
So
thousand.
like you try well, fine, it's $1,000. You try that. How is that? Like the Roland is $1,000. You try that and you didn't like it, right? And honestly, I'm not like saying maybe they won't have a giant killer that's coming out soon, but like honestly, um, the trend is not there. I haven't seen it, so I gotta see to believe it, man.
Yeah, but over here, you mentioned about distributors. There are not a lot of Chi-Fi distributors. There are a lot of Chi-Fi parallel importers. So yeah, they may not get them as fast. In fact, even the distributors don't get them as fast as the online stores, because those online stores are from China, right? So they have immediate
Yeah,
stock.
and I feel like that's kind of a shitty business model. Is that they are a lot of these online stores they can get these real quick because they don't have a physical store, so they can just have them in stock, and it's the transaction is so quick, and once you once you cash in on the hype for these the online distributors, they move on to the next one, and that's why you see like a lot of the Western distributors, they will not carry Chi-Fi because that's not a sustainable business model, because they need to have it, and then they need to have a certain amount of stock shipped to the US, and then like they need to send out like not even send out, they need to they like say headphones.com, they have like return policies, and like I don't know, like these Chinese ones, I honestly don't think they have a year return policy, and it's just like they're it's kind of like I hate to um it's kind of like predatory, this kind of like marketing strategy is just to really kind of prey upon the fact that the consumer doesn't really have like get um a good understanding of what the product they're buying, and then they just buying it, and then after that they really don't have any other service after that. It's just like the lifespan of the IEM is just like maybe a month like of hype, and then it just dies down, and then people move on to the next one.
Yeah,
And that's like
Like
I feel like a lot of them. It's like you are paying to be a beta tester in some ways, because I seen the shift from like a few years ago when they just dumped a whole bunch of stuff out there, and tuning was like super bright or super V shaped, and so you had like super bassy IEMs or super bright treble focused IEMs, and I feel like people are buying in to be beta testers, and it seems like certain IEMs will sell more than others, and then they'll start tuning to that IEM, and then releasing like 50 IEMs that sound like that one sound, and then people will give them feedback, and then they keep tweaking it, and then releasing like another 50 IEMs. And when I went to like start reviewing this stuff, I kept getting batches of 6 or 8 budget Chi-Fi all at one time, and almost every single one sounded exactly the same, and they look the same, and they feel the same, and to a point where it gets really boring because everything literally has the same sound signature minus like a couple little things here and there, but everything sounds the same. And I feel like that's kind of the direction it's heading, where almost everything's going to end up sounding the same, and that's based on like what I call beta testing. People are just throwing stuff out there, and then they're picking which one sells the most and continuing to develop that sound signature, which is good in some ways, but also like kind of
no, it's
frustrating at the same time, because you end up getting no choices.
Well, you always have price, and that's why it's called flavor of the month. Like these people know, I feel like they do know, it's flavor of the month. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be a hidden gem, but they just want to buy lottery.
But that's the problem. Like like Anthony likes to say beta testing. I'm calling it QC. You know why it's quality control? They're using their market as quality control. And do you know the company usually pay people to do QC, and for Chi-Fi they don't have to. They just release a unfinished product out there, and then like the market will decide which one they keep and which one they. Well, I mean, for one thing, that's extremely capitalistic of the company. On the other hand, that is not good. It's not good for consumers. You're using your market to test out your products, and the ones that does not survive just falls to the wayside, and the one that's good, then they just make like different copies of it.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
I
mean,
I, I don't know.
every company
Yeah,
does
go ahead.
that. Every company does some sort of let's say like um, shit audio. I guess this is I'm moving little bit off topic, but they have this thing called their Thunderdome, where they've released like multiple amps and DACs at the same price range with slightly different features, and they're just letting people decide which one sells the most, and they're going to end up keeping the whichever one sells the most as their long term product, and they're going to cancel the product that they don't keep or don't sell.
Yeah, and
But
a lot of company does that because like again, like even without just like every company does that because like you would release a line of product, and
yeah,
the ones that doesn't sell would get discontinued, and the one that does sell would get a revision, right?
yeah.
It's the same
Except
thing. But
Chi-Fi is doing it in like a super expedient way.
yeah, yeah, they're doing it like it's like that, but
Hyperspace.
on crack because their life cycle is super short. And again, when I keep going back to the life cycle of a Chi-Fi, well, a singular Chi-Fi IEM, that's like unnaturally short. And the bad part is that you are experimenting with your consumer. I guess the good part is that they kind of really have a very accelerated rate of growth. Quotation mark depends on what you want to say as improvement with all these Chi-Fi IEMs they are pumping out. Uh, I
They do grow a lot because these people are funding their R&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, should we all as a consumer, do you think we should fund the not the future R&D, the current R&D? Do you think as us as consumers should fund the current R&D of this IEM?
Yeah, I mean, like they started off with no QC, like what QC, and till now they have a little bit more QC or better QC. So it's like from non-existent QC to having some QC. That's what people are funding them, and well, I don't fund R&D unless it's a bespoke. So yeah,
And I like how you brought up R&D and QC because like that goes into the cycle of that again. It's like you don't have time, you know. The first thing about R&D and QC that is that it takes time, but you are also within a market that have a very short life cycle of a single product, so you don't have the time. Maybe you have the money, but you obviously don't have the time to provide for the QC and the R&D IEMs for these Chi-Fis. So I feel like their build quality and their sound quality is that's what one of the other reasons why there are more subpars on these IEMs companies that just shooting out like many different products, like
Yeah.
even expensive ones.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
tough challenge because you're
yeah.
always competing with the other companies, and there's companies that are gonna be throwing out products like left and right, like KZ has. But I feel like they've actually slowed down a little bit. But and then there's and to compete with like a big company that sells so much volume like KZ, you got to pump out your own like your own amount of products to keep up with that rate. But so you have to balance between trying to get the right tuning and the right quality control and the right processes versus making it quick and making it fast and losing some of those other things that you probably should take into consideration.
I mean, you just
Go ahead.
about keep breaking, and stuff. There's warranty. It's not great, to send it back and stuff, but there is warranty. What is scary is the lottery. Like every unit is different. Like, are you gonna get a warmer version, or are you gonna get a shoutier version, or a beige roll-off version? Like, hey, lottery time.
Yeah, I mean
That's,
Yeah,
the review I wrote
that is
yesterday night, the T Audio Legacy 3, it's another Chinese brand. I got two different versions of it, and they both were tuned completely differently, and even the left and rights were tuned completely differently. So, I mean, that's a case in point. And one of them sounds really good because I wrote a really positive review on the current model I have. But the previous one sounded really, really bad. And part of it was because the left and right didn't match, and they didn't even come close to matching. Like they were literally tuned completely differently.
Um, and I think it's, I'm all about fair and balance when it comes to all things, but that's a joke. I think it's also more important to talk about maybe there's some brands that doesn't really follow the Chi-Fi business model. I think it depends on how good Corn's internet is. Do you want to tell us about your favorite Chi-Fi brand, Corn?
Moondrop.
Yeah, disgusting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Moondrop is pretty darn consistent. I mean, I talked about it earlier in my upcoming video release of my own like IM brand ranking list. But in short, Moondrop super consistent. I feel like they know how to tune, and when you look at it in the internals, right? For example, the Blessing 2. Um, when you look in internals, you'll see that for example, the mid-range driver has a horn to get the kind of FR that they want, and they also uh damp the dynamic driver, as well as use a very thin tube for the inner diameter of the tube of the dynamic driver to get the kind of the frequency response that they are looking out for. And due to that, I feel like Moondrop has, in a sense, they have a higher caliber in terms of tuning, where they kind of figure out what they're doing and how far they can go with tuning.
They don't go very far with the tuning because most of their tuning are either a modified Harman or a modified DF.
Yeah, it's very safe, but they come up with solutions to get the curve that they want. Which is why I find that they are very consistent in that sense.
And in a way that since you don't really need to figure out what kind of tuning you want because for the most part before the Solus before B2 came out, most of their stuff are just Harman, so like you could just from the KPE to the KXXS to the Starfield into the AA into the SA, it's all pretty much relatively the same Harman tuning, and I call it lazy, you call it engineering, so I guess depends on how you put it, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so like we talked about life cycle earlier on. So like most of the Western brands, maybe they have a 1 year cycle, 1.5 years, or depending when they can come out with the next new model, and we talk about Chi-Fi having flavor of the month. It's like every other week or every other month they will come out with something new and hope the hype catch on. Moondrop, on the other hand, I think it's more a flavor of the quarter. They do hold out for a few months, and they don't churn out as much, so they sort of in between. Like I think
Yeah.
Tanchim is one brand that doesn't churn out like massive. I mean, they have a few products, but their product life cycle is a bit longer. So I guess it goes from on regular Chi-Fi, Moondrop, Tanchim, and then every other brand.
Tangent is a whatever, how do they want to call themselves. I like them just because they're from my hometown, and currently they have about 4 IEMs in their lineup, and they just released a 5th. And here's and I'm gonna draw the parallel, right? What's Anthony? What's that recent IEM that Moondrop just released? The SSR, right?
yeah, I'm holding it right now.
Oh yeah,
SSR.
It sounds pretty awful, right? I mean,
It's okay. It's just a tad bright.
it's a tab, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did I not tell you about the IEM with roll off on both ends? It's just kind of like a weird. It's not the best build quality, right? It's a weird.
No, actually, I
what is it?
mean, it's like what, $39. It's pretty good for $39. I would say build quality wise.
I don't like, yeah, but like what it's like. What did you tell me? How do they mold that? They use like a molding to like injection. I call it injection molding. You call it something.
No,
So
I
it's
don't
like
think
powder
it's.
metal.
I think this is die cast from looking at
Oh,
it.
it's a die cast.
And then I think
So-
they
so
put
they
a
pressed.
like a
Okay.
enamel clear coat on top of it to give it this
Yeah,
kind of weird
and
feel.
you know, from the like you know the build standpoint, diecast is fine. I think pretty much just like press it really hard.
Yeah.
Just for comparison, the company that made the oxygen, Tenjin, they recently released something that's like around $100. And have you seen a picture of like the Hana? It's like a white, pretty much a white oxygen, and they kept the same. They use CNC stainless steel, which I'm a big fan of CNC machining. But I'm just saying that I think for with companies that like you know that's like Moondrop, that's like you know that release IEMs a little bit slower. They still having to find like these manufacturing techniques that's like you know pretty cost effective. Like they do with the SSR. I think aren't most of their like metal IEM diecast as well, like the KXSS and the Starfield, right?
I
I
believe
want to say.
so.
Yeah, it looks like it, like it's like pressed, but then like once you look at like you know, Tenjin, I think Ken agrees with me that you know their oxygen is still one of the best single DD Harman out there. But the problem is that it being you know $300 or $250.
Yeah.
They can afford to use a better manufacturing technique, you know, with their IEMs. I'm not sure about their drivers, but they did like on their marketing material they did say like, oh, we built another new driver from the ground up again. I don't know how accurate it is, but just from the shell alone, they can afford to use CNN, you know, stainless steel except instead of the you know die casting, versus you know what the Moondrop does, right? And you do have a comparison with these two companies right there. But they're two very good mid tier.
Yeah, because talking about like Chi-Fi is cheap, like look, there's only so much money to be earned, and you know you go to freight, you go to packaging, you go to your retailers, you go for your resellers margin and whatnot, you know. So how, if you want more on your nice packaging and your nice build quality, then obviously there's lesser money for the actual sound quality, isn't it? You know. So
Well,
it's a
yeah.
balance. And Moondrop, you know, to give them credit when it's due, they do have a decent balance there. It isn't bad at all. Going back to Oxygen, it's very nice quality, but the fit is cancer. You know, I have to say that. It's great
Well,
sounding,
I
yeah,
think
but it is
the
cancer.
fit is. I mean, I can fit it pretty okay. I definitely don't prefer it. It has that 64 audio shape to it. So
Does it fit like a 64? I actually haven't tried any of their
I
products.
feel like it's
it
more
does.
than
Yeah.
a 64.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit smaller.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
a bit-
depends on how depends on how like how your ears is. It's a
Like
little bit
the-
smaller than.
The angle of the nozzle is very odd for me, so it's very hard for me to get like a very good seal.
I think you have to do like one size up in terms of the tips. That's why you sometimes a lot of times it sounds dark because it doesn't have that treble extension that you like on their Oxygen. So it does like the fit does play a problem. It does have a problem, you know, the fit. I'm not gonna defend it.
Oh, I can get a good fit. It's just that I have to either hold them or I can't move. I can only be
Yeah.
sitting. In the moment I stand up and move, bam, it's gone. You know,
Just-
but for when I can get a good fit, you know, or sitting down and testing it, it is good.
Just tape it to your ear.
Not gonna work, man.
And why don't we move on? I think the other topic that you know Anthony kind of talked about is that going back to the life cycle and the community cycle within the community. I'm not a big fan of these reviewers.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these reviewers. I hate. I have these brand like I would brand people as a Chi-Fi reviewer, and shout out to Anthony, Chi-Fi reviewer. So since you're in front of my face while I'm talking to you, I don't think I want to. I don't want to point anybody's like name anybody's name. So I'm just gonna give you most of the shit.
Fine.
I feel like you are part of the problem. And you're and there's nothing you can do about it, honestly. If you don't do it, somebody else will. So there's nothing like you know. But that's not a very valid excuse for that. So what I'm saying is that these companies or these distributors likes to send out you know free samples to a lot of reviewers. Like they like again like it's $50 Chi-Fi or like what But funny enough, like recently now it has been like $1,000 Chi-Fi that they sent out to reviewers. But you don't get you're smart time Chi-Fi reviewer, so you don't get those
Nope.
300. Like, well, how much are those legacy whatever you had?
Oh, I
Do you
bought
even
those,
know?
but those were $129.
I don't know why would you ever buy those. Yeah, I don't know why, but we'll get to that later. So they will send out these $300 Chi-Fi. They will send out either on a review tour or they just let them keep, and people would write good reviews, like very amazing reviews. They know who they are. I'm not gonna name names. They would demo their IEMs with Tupac DSD, and then they say it's the best thing ever, and people eat that shit up, and then they buy it, and next week the reviewer does it all over again. It's just like, I feel like it's like what you guys are is just kind of a scam salesman. um, that you would just like again like I wouldn't I trust you as far as I can throw you, Anthony. I don't throw that far. I feel like the reviewers are very like defend yourself, Anthony.
Well,
I guess.
sure. I don't hype up that many IEMs in general, so I'm probably the least hyped like reviewer of the Chi-Fi community, or one of the least ones. But yeah, it is.
That's why you don't get that's why you don't get expensive stuff, man.
No,
That's why you don't get
it's
expensive
true.
stuff. That's your
It's
problem.
probably true,
Yeah,
'cause I don't-
That's exactly why. That's exactly why.
Yeah, I don't probably help the sales as much as some other people do. But yeah, I don't really know what to say. I mean, I'm in front of me right now. I have a KZ, what is this? KZ S something or other true wireless, which sucks. And I have a the other VX, the TRN VX here, which is really bright but not bad. And I have the Moondrop SSR, and these were just like a handful of stuff I've gotten in the last 2 months, and I gotten, I don't know, several dozen things, and I can't keep up with writing all these reviews because they keep coming. And basically, sometimes I turn them down because I don't have time to even do it, and I don't want to bother them sending it to me. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff here, I don't know what I'm even talking about right now, but a lot of the stuff, like I said before, is tuned very similarly, so it's really hard to like write a review about saying it just sounds like everything else. Don't waste your money. So sometimes I have to like focus on certain things, like it fits really well, it looks really nice, the build quality is like beyond its price range for compared to other
But
things. But
I think as soon as you said something that's not good, they would stop sending you stuff. And you are like this is an unwritten contract as a reviewer, and this is a lot of the problem within this community is that people always write overwhelmingly positive reviews, and people would just think, oh, that's the best thing ever, so I'm gonna buy it, and people trust you. I don't know why, but they do. So when you write something that's let's say something that's good, or even when you said that something they have like good build quality, and they they go and spend their hard-earned money just based on you. Like, you got it for free, and they have to spend their money for it. Of course you said it's good. Just like, I got a good laugh out of, when Marquez Brownlee, when he reviewed a HD 820, $2,000 close back headphone. I was like, oh, it's a great headphone. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's great. You got it for free. Of course, like the value is infinite when you got a $2,000 headphone for free. Fuck, if I have to spend $2,000 and buy a pair of 820, like people will call me retarded. Like I like no. See, like when you are provided something for free, you are buying it when it's like unwritten contract that if you want future products, and that's just not Chi-Fi, but Chi-Fi more specifically because the review cycle is so quick, right? If you want more of our products, you must give us a positive review. But if we don't, if they don't deem you like a part of their cost, they would just like, oh, I guess we're not gonna send you anything expensive, right? And for the people that writes, and even for the reviewers that takes their time to write these products, if you're not a reviewer that can pump out like fucking show, you can like a monkey flinging their fucking shit at the market. If you're not one of those person that can like pump out shitty reviews every other day, they're not even gonna send you. Because why? Because the life cycle of their product is like 2 weeks. And if like fucking Anthony that spends 2 weeks to write a freaking review once you put it out there, that freaking IEM's dead already.
Yeah,
And and
I do feel like that sometimes where I'm like, oh, the hype is over. Do I need to even write this review anymore?
yeah, like so
Like,
they would just like it's like the lowest common denominator. They send it to this like shit showing reviewers that can pump out shit reviews for like, throwing shit for a living. That's what it
yeah,
is. I
I
can't say
think
the word shit enough.
I guess to that point, a lot of you'll see people on the forums like Headfi for sure, and even Reddit. A lot of people are just posting something that looks like a review, but it's really their first impression, like maybe first day of listening, and it's like, oh, this is my review. It's like you only listen to it for a day. It's like, how is it really? Did you actually have time to like compare it to other things, or to like give this
Yeah.
substantial like content that you're providing? And but you kind of almost have to in this type of market because they pump out two 3 IEMs a month sometimes in some brands.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the hype dies really quickly because the next best thing comes out.
And that's not healthy for anybody.
Yeah,
That's not healthy for the manufacturers because they don't have the time to do QC. They don't have time to do R&D. That's not healthy for the community because they're spending their money on what is essentially lottery, buying a subpar or mediocre IEMs. That's not healthy for the reviewers because they are pressured to put out very rushed reviews or reviews that's overwhelmingly positive because they're trying for good or bad reasons they're trying to keep up with the life cycle of this product, right? So
yeah.
um and one
I will say that for me, and I know some other people, like if the product is good, then we'll spend more time in getting that review out. And if it's not very good, then you may not put any time and may not even write a review at all. I actually try to write a review or at least put impressions on everything I get, just to get it out there, just to have like a devil's advocate, I guess, out there on products that I don't like, but because I feel like that's missing a lot. Like you hear a lot of hype, but then a lot of once people start buying it, you can see that people's reactions on the forums aren't as positive as the initial set of reviews, and I don't know the whole reasoning behind all of that. I can speculate sometimes, but there's that feedback too that is missing. I feel like sometimes because people either don't have time or they just don't like it enough to even bother spending time to write a review.
and here's the other point to the argument on the reviewers, and that's another point, is that no matter how good or bad your review of that IEM is, like if you give it a good score or a bad score, it's helping them sell the IEM. What I mean is that, like, again, like you always seen it, right? Korn is a big person. Like, he reviewed the Fearless Roland, which was the hype. Like, I don't know when it's dead now, right? Korn, you hated it. You famously hated it, and you got so much flack from that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that your negative review drives sales for them. You know why? Because it helps them to stay relevant. So people on Headfi on the Roland forum, and they themselves, driving up a shitstorm, got a stick up their ass, thinking about all angry about this review or you, Korn, saying that their favorite IEM is bad. So their rage really kept that IEM relevant.
Because then
So
because you have people defending it and saying it's so great, and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, this
You
is great.
you have you
Bad
are
marketing,
driving
right?
your negative reviews are driving artificial conversation between these two IEMs. So whether you so they have like two, like, the Chi-Fi people got the shit figured out. Like, you guys are just like, cogs in this machine that you give it a good review, good, you shell it, people will buy it. But if you don't shell it, this conflict between the shells and the haters will just drive the conversation and extends the life cycle of this IEM, right? So my opinion is that people should just, if it's bad, I hate to say it, just don't review it. There's no,
I
there's no,
can't do
there's
that,
no.
man.
No, I think people should. I think when it's
Yeah.
bad, just let the show and let the hype die. Like,
But
if
there's no
nobody,
drama.
the drama is funny, right? But then you are also feeding the very unethical, and I mean, I can't it's kind of ironic me saying something's unethical. Like you're driving this unethical or like impossible, unsustainable market.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just call it unsustainable.
so
Well,
I'm gonna change it a little bit here. Um, there are some companies out there who are taking feedback from the community, whether it's the reviewer or early beta testers who they actually send out products to test. Like most recently, Tin Audio or Tin Hi-Fi, whatever they're called now, they've been sending out pre-release products to certain people like Critical and I and Hawaii Bad Boy and some others. We've had
Do you know why? You know why? Because they don't know how to tune their shit themselves. They have
well,
no
yeah,
idea.
it's true.
They don't want to pay. They don't want to pay their own people to do it. So they send it to other people. Say, hey, tune this for us.
Yeah,
That's
but
laziness. That's
every
not good.
every company does that though. You have
You're
beta
not asking
testing,
for market feedback.
but
You're
people do
asking
that
people
though.
to do your job for you.
Yeah,
And
but
people are willing to do their job for free. That's their problem.
you get that from every company, but every company does market research prior to release.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I don't see Ford giving me a car. Say, hey, crash test this. They don't say that.
They
Right?
do, but
Ford
it's,
is like,
they
hey,
do,
have a
but you
truck,
don't know
crash
about
test
it
this
because
for
it's
me.
they do, but you don't know about it because it's under NDA.
And you know what happened when they fucking fucked up, when Ford fucked up? You remember the Ford Pinto? You remember the $1 million lawsuit they had to freaking, that almost bankrupt the company.
Well, I'm not talking
I'm not
about.
saying like a fucking IEM will lose their lives. Like you don't get this kind of laziness. Like you have internal R&D and internal QC for a reason. But for this, like they don't even have the people to do it. So they ask other, like members of the community who are some are very qualified and some are very not. Let's just get out of there right now. Like you are basically asking for what the most part the reviewers, the amateur, about what they think that they like.
I
You know
think
why they ask them that? So they feed it. So they write a positive review. I have a hand in this IEM, so I think it's good. That's what they are.
I,
When your feedback, how much feedback does it matter?
yeah, it can matter. I mean, I think you're confusing quality control versus
I'm
market
not confusing
preference.
anything. I'm
Because
confusing the
quality
fact
control
that
is your Ford example. That's a quality control issue. We as like a market research, like whatever, or a survey can't control quality control because we're not the engineers or we're not the assembly line.
but
But
you are also not the IEM.
we could provide preferences of like, hey, this is how a car should look like. Like we like this type of interior. We like this type of handling or whatever. We can't tell them. We can give them that survey of information like a market survey, but we can't go
Yeah,
and actually
you're
design it
taking
for
that
them.
market survey,
That's,
but at the same time, they're also giving you unfinished product and tell you which one that they should make. Like, isn't that one of the internal problem? Shouldn't that be an internal problem? Shouldn't they know like how to tune an IEM when they're a manufacturer of an IEM? Like, I should. It's like the same thing as saying that Ford would say, "Hey, I got the 6.3 liter V8 engine. How should I tune this?" That's stupid.
yeah, but they're
That's
basing it
stupid.
on what people like, right? If there's no market for it, why would they release a product?
But they're basing a market on reviewers because the reviewers can show it. That's not what you like. Is not what the market wants, right? I mean, obviously, you reviewers drive the sale, and they're doing this like, what I feel like is that if you have a if you have your name attached to somehow, like not even like your name, or if you have a hand in this IEM, however small, as a reviewer, you would show it.
Yeah, but so I'm gonna give you a different view. I mean, there's also I don't know if it's cultural or just preference listening of like how certain I think even Harman actually did this research of how different regions or cultures prefer their target signatures, and if they're trying to get like a Western audience, the sound signature is going to be a bit different than the Chinese audience. So giving uh, people who listen to like more Western music or come from that area, I guess samples to review in advance will give you a different audience that you're targeting.
Yeah, fair, fair. Also, and the same thing is that I like how you brought up, the Western audience and the Eastern audience because, um, there is no Western audience. What I mean by that is that our demographic in the West, and that does not include the Singapore boys. It's tiny. Like, how many people do you think buys IEM in the States versus fucking China? Like,
Yeah.
go like, yeah, corn.
Yeah.
Like, say, what's the population of Singapore again?
7. Wait, no, not yet. I think 5.5 million.
Yeah, you want to compare the population between that and the States?
Isn't it like 300 million or something?
Yeah, like 350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say that there is actually more of a demographic in Singapore that buys, like, maybe mid-tier IEMs versus the States?
I wouldn't say mid-tier, but I mean, when it comes to
Just IEMs,
TWS,
just portable IEMs in general.
yeah, like IEMs in general, super popular here. Like, if you wear a headphone on the MRT, like on our mass public transport, kind of look weird, without a like a TWS, and if you use a headphone, you kind of like stand out.
Okay, and just when people wanna like really say, oh, you don't know the market numbers. How many audio stores in Singapore? Just one city alone, because Singapore is a city. Just one city of 5.5 million people. How many audio stores in Singapore?
Over 10.
Yeah,
Over 10.
like over 10, yeah, easily over 10.
Easy over 10.
So yeah, so because there is this market, because that market is sustainable, that's why there's over 10 audio store. How many fucking audio store is in, let's say, California, which has more population and and surface area than Singapore? I'm gonna tell you, probably 2. There's TSAV, God bless you, Cat Course, and there's another one in LA. That's about it.
Yeah, there aren't that many headphones.
No, there
specific
isn't.
stores.
Even for online retailers, can you even name 10 in the States for online retailers? Audio 46, Moon Audio, TSAV, Headphones.com. That's 4. That's the 4 big
Music
ones.
Tech.
Yeah.
There's a bunch. There's actually a lot, but they're not
I mean,
as well known.
there's a lot, but like I'm saying, that's a lot for 300 million people.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, for the total population of, there's a lot, yeah, but is there like 3.5 versus like 350 million people versus 5.5 million, and they have 10 physical stores? Like, it's very safe to say they have a bigger demographic. But funny enough,
I wonder, it'd be interesting to see what the sales numbers are. I mean, having physical stores doesn't stop like an American from buying stuff, because we in America are so used to buying things online now with the Amazons and stuff, and all these brands are available on Amazon.
Yeah, but because they have physical stores, that means these physical stores are there because that means that they have the demographic to sustain those stores, right? That's my argument, that they have a bigger.
Yeah, but we're talking about
Singapore
Chi-Fi here. Chi-Fi is not in the Singapore stores.
And that's what I'm saying. These Chi-Fis why aren't they into it? Why do they always specifically market towards Americans? Why is that? You tell me, Anthony.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably an area where I don't know.
Because it's the perfect ground. Americans have no place to demo. They're resorting to blind buying. You're not gonna get the freaking Singaporeans to try these $50. Obviously you do, but like most of them will try it before they buy it. Like, if you have availability, like in Singapore, they like in themselves in China, right? If you have availability, if you get to try it before you buy it, you're not gonna buy these garbage. You're not gonna blind buying garbage. Obviously, you do have those people everywhere, but you will have less amount of those people in areas where you have availability, where you have samples or demo units that's available to you. You don't have that in the States, so this is kind of like the perfect ground for them to to sell their less than ideal IEMs, and that's why they don't market towards their own domestic audience, where that's by far the Chinese IEM portified audio market is by far the biggest. Like, I would safe to say, excluding Japan, China will be the biggest market than everybody else combined, excluding Japan. just because they're pure population, maybe excluding Singapore. Like, it's so big, but they don't market it towards their own people. Why? Because they know that their shit is bad. They can't sell it if they don't have demo units, so they sell it to freaking Americans. Sorry, that's not very nice to the Americans.
It's as if, well, they do not have knowledge and information. Like, when you do not have information and knowledge, you are bound to make a more uninformed decision.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And in Singapore, like, well, there are a lot of Chi-Fi lovers, but here's the thing, because community exists, like, some guy can buy $1,000 Chi-Fi, he can buy $20, $50 Chi-Fi, he can be the one buying it, and like, the rest of the community, his friends, 10 of them, 20 of them, whatever, can test it whenever they meet, and then if they like it, they buy it. So, like, there are blind buy Chi-Fi buyers, but because of the way the community is, there are a lot of people who actually benefit from, so to speak, benefit from these people, whether they like it or not. They can make a slightly more.
Keep going. They can make a slightly
more informed decision.
Yeah. And I think that's really your slightly more informed decision really kills the life cycle of a Chi-Fi, because in the States it's mostly just the interaction with another audiophile outside of the cam jam stuff. It's just online. You can't really right.
Sorry,
keep going.
Can you finish first?
No, yeah, let's go. You go.
So yeah, and for the fact that you can't A/B it, you can't compare side by side. Like, I mean, there's only so much. Like, if you only tried like 5 different IEMs in your entire lifetime, and like you just buy a random Chi-Fi, like, hey, it's great because like what is it compare against, like. But in Singapore, it's like whether you buy it, your friend buy it, you can go to anywhere. You have like tons and tons of models to try from. You can walk to any store, 50 IEMs to try. You go to an audio meet, at least 20 different IEMs in a small meet.
Yeah.
At least it's like if you go to a big meet, you have more IEMs than a whole store combined, more stores combined.
I think what Ken's getting at is like the lack of perspective with the the North American audience really kind of fuels this kind of business model for Chi-Fi, because like if you never try anything before, then anything you try will be good, just because the lack of perspective and just because you really don't have this like in IRL, like the real life interaction with another person. Like, you can't really like try something that somebody else have bought, and just the lack of availability in general in the States that makes this kind of really like Chi-Fi sales model really sustainable in the West, but funny enough, not in their own country, right? So I think if anybody should think how good a Chi-Fi product is doing, they should really look towards their own domestic market, the Chi-Fi, the Chinese market. So what sells well in Chi-Fi? I'll tell you that much. Moondrop and Hydrogen Oxygen. You know why? Because they're actually pretty good products. And the other IEMs, then the other manufacturer that's really popular in China. Why don't I move on to maybe a less of a point than Chi-Fi. As I touched up recently, that you have a these price creeping when it comes to Chi-Fi, are people seemingly willing to pay upwards of $500 or $1,000 for Chi-Fi. I feel like the problem is that a lot of these Chi-Fi companies, they have a lack of flagship, a lack of a good quality product that people can identify this company from. What I mean is that if I name some names, for good or bad, like if you think about CFA, it depends on what you like. People will say, "Oh, I think about a Solaris" when I say CFA, or just think about an Andromeda, right? And for 64, they think about the U12T, and for me, I think about the Trio, which they discontinue. Shame on them. And even for Empire Year, people think about the most iconic brand, back in the days, the Zeus, and now, the Legend X. And, their most recent products are not very successful. I feel like the Chi-Fi, because, again, going back to the life cycle of their IE, they don't have this flagship product that they themselves can, kind of say like a statement piece, which a lot of like companies outside of the IEMs do have. Even Moondrop with the SA, I don't think I'm very happy with how that. Like, how about this? What's your thought? Like again, we're talking about Moondrop and maybe Korn. What do you think about this lack of flagship? Like nothing is just truly. They're just like mid tier. They're just like mediocre IEMs. Are you?
I wouldn't say they are like mediocre, but in terms of a product that truly sticks, like let's say for Campfire Audio, they did have the Andromeda, which stick like it really stuck for quite a while. It's been I think 3 years and it's still quite popular. But I think in Moondrop's case, people know that people are aware that they refresh their lineup like every half a year. So when they release a product, half a year later or something new is going to come out, it's probably going to be better and cheaper as well. So in that sense, people don't really try to uh, invest a lot in Moondrop because of their product cycle. But I'll still
But
say that
is that really sustainable? That's what I'm asking you. Is that really sustainable? You have a company that doesn't really have a. I mean, you have a freaking company that have a waifu as the most iconic, like most iconic figure, and not a freaking IEM.
well, I still believe that they still move their sales through their cheaper and stuff like Starfield, KXSS.
Of
I
course.
feel like that's where they generate their revenue from. But in terms of a TLTR product, like a true kind of product that really represents Moondrop, I don't think it really exists yet. Perhaps you'll see in the future.
They have a mascot, which they
They
love,
have the
which I love too.
they have the Solus, and then they just
Yeah,
announced the
it's a
Illuminance.
flagship.
The Illuminance is supposed to be
And
their new flagship.
okay, the flagship single D that looks exactly like a gold-plated KXXS, right?
Yeah, I mean
It probably
that's
is.
to your point, right? If your sustainability, if you keep the same molds and tooling, whatnot, that saves your cost of R&D manufacturing anyway.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is like, oh, of course you're not gonna have a company that does that, and you probably don't have a, people wondering, well, why was there a Chi-Fi company that have a flagship product that really sticks with the time, that's really old and still top tier? I don't know, man. No,
It's not the
no,
VX.
it's not. How about this? How long has the A series been around?
I think about 3 years or 4.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. When you have a product that survived the test of time, that's what I mean.
That's not that long though.
Consistently 3 years in terms of like a technology and IEM, how fast again,
Yeah.
like TVC's on a yearly cycle, like not even a year. It's
Monthly.
been 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you're talking about just portable audio in general, the Sennheiser HD 600 series that's been around for 25 years, 26
Yeah,
years
but
now.
that's like bad. I would say the 800 that's around for 13 years. It's more, but then like again,
600
like
series still
headphones
sells
move a
way
lot
more.
slower. Technology and headphones move a lot slower
That's
than
true.
IEMs, right?
Yeah,
So
right now, yeah, for
so,
sure.
like yeah, so like when you think about a Chi-Fi that's been around, again, it's not cheap. That's been around for 3 years and it's still one of the best IEM on the market today, regardless of it being made in China or not. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have these other Chi-Fi companies. I'm taking my time shilling QTC right here. These other Chi-Fi companies like don't have this identity, don't have this flagship. You see it in like maybe I'm going back to my car thing, right? Ford made the new Ford GT. That's their iconic flagship car, right? People think, oh, Ford GT, right? Or if you're in redneck, you buy the Ford F-150 or whatever, right?
Yeah, when I think
But
of Ford, I think
you
of the trucks. To be
Right,
honest.
their trucks.
Yeah.
Or if you're redneck, you think about their trucks. But their IEMs, like Moondrop, they have the waifu, which is lovely and all, but it has nothing to do with music. And that's like I honestly that's like my biggest critique of Moondrop is that they don't have a product that sticks, and they are very they even though not as much, they're still very much uh confined within the Chi-Fi sales model of having to constantly, refreshing their product.
So you're saying Adult Moondrop is pretty good, but yes, an identity issue.
Well, it's not identity. They don't have an identity issue. Their identity is having Harman tuning and a very very lovely waifu.
I think they
on
actually,
on their
yeah,
packaging.
I think those
Yeah, we
two
could.
are their identity for now. I mean, they're still a new,
But
relatively new
that
company.
has nothing to do with the quality of their sound,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't like you're a fucking filthy weeaboo and you like the waifu, then that's on you, right? Obviously not my waifu, but you know, and you buy their IEM, that's good. That's just marketing. But if you again like QDC have their own house sound, and they have a product that's 3 years old. That's also how about this? Name a Chi-Fi that's better than the 8 series, and don't say the Dawn. I'm waiting. Anybody? For the Singaporeans out there, name a Chi-Fi. Singapore boys. Name a Chi-Fi that's better than the 8 series. I'll give you Dawn. I'll give you the Fearless Dawn. Name another one. I'm waiting. Name it.
Probably
Like-
there's a chance.
No, maybe no. Like you can firmly say, for the most part, it's better. Like not in every way, because like none of it's better. Like just maybe in like one or two, like you know, categories.
Con loves the S8. He thinks it's better than A series, isn't it? I don't, but he does.
Nah, I think
See, there you
is
go.
still better.
I'm waiting. Like name one. You guys heard like enough Chi-Fi, enough IEMs. Like name a Chi-Fi that's better than A series. Name a Chi-Fi that's better
Okay.
than a 3-year-old
Unique-
IEM.
Unique Melody,
Oh,
Legacy.
Legacy.
It's
Okay,
close.
see,
It's
that's
close.
even older. That's even older than the
No,
80s.
but
Yeah.
Legacy is so lo-fi.
Yeah, Legacy is lo-fi too. Man.
But it's
It also
close.
has,
It's not as good. It's close. You know, it's not as good, but it's close.
but like that's for like what? It's like 5 years old.
So
Yeah, okay,
like,
but
you don't-
like there are a lot of pretty decent Unique Melody stuff, just that we don't have access to them in Singapore, and well, for the most part, most of the part of the world, they don't have access. It's only in Japan.
like you don't have. It's like you say technology moves really fast with the IEM market, right? And with Chi-Fi, yeah, sure, but like, there's still like really not that many IEMs that's better than the 8 series. So that's the sad part, right? The only thing that's better than the 8 series is Gemini, that's by QDC, or VX, that's by QDC. So that's their refresh. Like QDC refreshed their flagship BA IEM. Guess what? Every like year and a half to 2 years, like a normal company, and they keep improving, right? So
can I?
that's the only company that's exception to the rule.
Yeah, but they've also been
Like,
around
that's
longer.
immune.
So I think Moondrop
I mean-
can get there. They've only been around for like 2 years, not even 2 years.
I don't think Moondrop ever will. I don't think Moondrop ever will. You know why? Because they don't make audio communication device for the fucking Chinese army.
They do.
part of the reason for QDC's survival is because they have pretty much unlimited funding. Like their parent company is QDC, as in the capital QDC,
Capital QDC,
which
yeah.
is a government contractor that makes like communication device for the army and the Chinese
Police.
People's Republic. Yeah, the police and and the army. So next time when you buy QDC, you know where your money is going towards. So if you don't like that authoritarian stuff, you don't want to, you should think about buying something else. You're ethical. But yeah, like I don't think Moondrop ever will get to that point where they have a normal release cycle and the normal life cycle of an IEM manufacturer, just because they don't have the funding and they're very tied down to the Chi-Fi business model.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how they develop their soft ears brand. You know, they're more luxury brand, but they're still new. They're still too new, and I think because of that and the market that they're fighting in, they have to kind of compete with some of the lower, and like they're probably making all their money on the Starfield, Canos Pro, KXXS, and actually they just released the Drop KXXX, whatever it's called, KXXX. And I think they're still gonna have to do that to fund their top of the line development, which you're starting to see come out now.
He makes more money. You know, once you have sunken costs in R&D, manufacturing is cheap. You just churn out as many as possible with a similar design to get the maximum money out of it. So they are doing a great job in that sense in making money.
Funny enough, when I was talking to my Chinese distributor that mainly distributes a QDC, I was asking him for this episode. I was just offhand. I'm like, so how much? Like, what's the QDC that you sell the most? Do you want to take a guess what he says?
4SS?
Neptune.
4.
No, VX.
Neptune.
So the unit that they sell the most, yes, it's actually the Uranus.
Yes.
What? What?
like just within this, just like I'm talking about like in the month, like the most recent time since the unit, yes,
This is globally or in the US or
just no, he's a Chinese distributor, so
Oh,
he only
okay.
sells within the southern region of China.
Okay.
Which is the most populated area in China, so probably the most and so you kind of give a good gauge in like what the Chinese. So
Well, it's the
so
cheapest.
yes,
It's the cheapest product they have.
yeah, of course it's the cheapest, right? It's not like the second cheapest IEM, the Uranus. Do you know what he makes the most money with though?
VX.
Yep, yep. Just the margin,
Yeah.
margin on VX. Yep.
Yeah,
I want to say like he says that it's kind of even between their low end model and the high end model. He sell, of course he sells a lot less of the top end VX model, right? But just the sale from the flagship, the very small amount of sales, really like the margin is pretty much the same when he
Yeah.
gets about when he sold about like 50 Uranus.
But that only works if you actually have a good flagship that can sell. If you don't sell any of them, then yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You have this very traditional IEM company, like Chi-Fi company. Like, even for 64, I don't know the number for 64. Like, wouldn't you say that they sell a lot more 12Ts and 18Ts and Tier Forte and Tier Trios than their, like, freaking low-end models? I don't ever see those, like, freaking for sale on their site, like, on the secondary market, right? That's a good gauge of how much, like, like...
Their lower end models are for
Custom only.
are for
musicians.
the musicians who are starting out and
Yeah.
they just want a brand, so they can not incur insane costs. But when the musicians get more famous or they get sponsorship, they'll go for A12T and A18T.
But what I'm saying, like, you don't see freaking, like, CFA sell, like, you don't see, like, Polaris in the secondary market, right? You see, like, Solaris and Andromedas, just because people buy them more. Like, a lot of these companies have their top of the line flagship product is the product that makes them most amount of money, and they use that to trickle down into making more budget oriented product. But then in the Chi-Fi market, you have a bottom up market that they don't have the time or the money to develop high end products, and so they're using these like low end these low end products, the sales from those low end products to fund their more developmental, more experimental, maybe with the software marketing. And from an R&D perspective from Anthony, you think that's like, you don't scale up, you scale down, right? You build something and you scale it down. That's more of a natural R&D progression, no?
If you're an established company, sure. But if you're not, you need the funding. I mean, there in like the US, there's venture capitalists and stuff that will fund you if you have a good product. But if you're just starting off on your own without capital, then you're gonna have to start. I mean, you don't have to start small, but it does help.
But not from a business standpoint, from a development standpoint. Shouldn't you have like trickle down?
Oh yeah,
instead of
for sure.
trickling up?
If you're working on the next best thing, yeah, the R&D and development and manufacturing costs are always going to be higher when you first start, and then you figure out how to make it cheaper, either by sales volume, making it cheaper, or
every
developing
single
new
company,
processes.
in terms of development, every single company uses the trickle down model, and if you don't say it, the Focal does it. They have the Utopia, and then they figured out how to make the same driver that's cheaper and with a less costly material, right? Same thing with cars. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think the Focal, the Utopia drivers, they came from their speakers, if I'm not wrong.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
but it's trickle down
made
from
it
the
smaller.
speakers. Their speakers are $3,000.
Yeah.
That's still a trickle down, right? That's still a trickling down technology. That's the technology where they have the flagship speakers, and then they made headphones with it. Once they made headphones, they trickled down and made their less expensive product. So it makes a lot of development sense to make something for cheaper instead of trying to use their cheap product to invest into more development, right?
So it's like not just the flagship only, but like the flagship and the the next few flagship. Like so it could be like the top 3 models that is funding the R&D. Not necessarily must be the most expensive model, because because the top few models still have a lot of R&D for top-notch technology, and they could be just selective. They pick the best to make the third best in their model, and in the series, and the third best in the whole series could be the most well selling, and it's still a pretty good model, you know.
Yeah, and I think the majority of this talk is really less about audio, more of a lessons in economics.
It does seem like it.
Yeah, doesn't it? Like, I feel like it's very unnatural. Like the Chi-Fi product, like the life cycle itself is very unnatural, life cycle, and people are oddly okay with it. I'm not. I mean, I like to say I'm an economist, but I am a finance by trade. But you know, I just don't. I don't like this. It doesn't make sense. The market is fucked up.
That's what they intended, and what they want from what I see. You know?
It's a unique approach.
No, I think. Go ahead. It's a unique one.
Oh, I said it's a unique approach to market. Market availability, market research, almost.
But like it's against the well of capitalism. You know, it's I mean, maybe
not unique, but that's the only way they can survive. Because if they try the trickle down method, they would have long gone closed down.
And they're surviving because based on the ignorance of the U.S. audience.
I guess not just U.S.
Yeah. So what do you call a
Europe?
Well, in Europe, in the West. So what do you call a company or a market that survives on the ignorance of their consumers? Is that predatorial? Wouldn't you call that predatorial? Or would you call it
a lot of online business model though, not just them.
I mean, yeah, but like having a lot more of those doesn't make it okay.
No.
The only reason that they're sustaining themselves is because that they have this unethical predatorial business model. Is that okay?
No.
I wonder. I wonder if it's gonna bite them.
I think it's very similar to glasses. Like, I mean, I wear glasses, and they are equivalent of Chi-Fi glasses. There are a lot of cheap glasses out there, and there's a lot of OEM, and there are glasses that are under $1,000, or so to speak, your expensive Chi-Fi, right? And they are still mass manufactured. They don't have good quality, you know. And
guess what? When you try out your glasses, don't you like put the frame on your face and see if it looks good on you?
Yes. That's why
exactly. But like saying that, but equating that to Chi-Fi is like saying that some lady's like, oh, I trust you. These glasses will look great, and you buy it, and it looks like it's pink with like a giant frame, like she look like a freaking nerd. You know, that's the same. You know, and then you have to look in the mirror, see how ugly you look with those like retarded looking glasses, and then you have to tell yourself that, oh, I look pretty okay with those. I love it. I should tell my friend to get all these ugly glasses. That's literally what Chi-Fi is.
Yeah, because like I go to stores, you know, and I try my favorite optician. She knows what I look out for, and like I fail 99% of the glasses out there because it's just not good enough, you know. And for the lack of a retail store, you can't test, and it's like buying online is crazy. It's like it's $1,000 or $2 for a pair of glasses, and it's like I'm going to buy online. I'm going to freaking regret it.
Yeah, so like that has nothing to do with glasses, and
so
there's also similar. I'm not gonna buy a glasses set of that's $1,000 and regret it. So I'm not gonna do the same for IEMs.
Can you?
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
In Singapore, do you guys have a return policy or return capability? Because in the US, almost every store has a return policy.
Most you can't here, but I mean, we're talking about glasses is worse. We're talking about prescription here, so it's like.
Well, I'm talking about online IEM blind buying in general. Like if.
I mean, you buy from the online store, then it's the online store policy, right? So you can still buy from non-Singaporean online store that has return policy. You can, you know, but like in Singapore, like why? You can just walk up to the store and like, I want to demo this. Do you have? No, you don't have it? Sure, I'll just go to the next store, like 3 km down the road.
Well, I'm talking about KZ, let's say KZ or whatever
You
TRN.
you can't. 99% of people who buy cheap Chi-Fi, when I talk to them,
Mhm.
they are happy with blind buy. They don't mind spending $50, and if it sucks, they just leave with it. They don't care.
Oh,
you know.
okay. Because like
Yeah.
in the U.S., Amazon or carries this, or even Walmart carries like KC now. Like, but you have the buyer still has a 30-day return window where they can, if they don't like it, they can just return it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
and you say that's a good thing,
don't.
right?
We don't.
It's
It's
a
a good
waste of your
thing,
time.
but
If
yeah,
it's unopened, if it's brand new in box, they can. Once they open it, if it's unless it's broken, if it's not broken,
yeah,
no, they can't just, oh, I regret it. Can I refund this? No, it doesn't work in Singapore.
yeah. I wonder. So like my question is like I wonder how sustainable this stuff is long term. If you like all the brands, at least in the U.S. anyway, the brands that have lasted a long time, are like Sony and Apple, and in the electronics world, like Sony, Apple, Dell. They make quality products. I mean, they make cheap stuff too, but all their products are typically well made and last a long time. And I wonder, and all the stuff that isn't very good quality typically kind of die out over time, except for like consumer like household goods stuff like Black and Decker or whatever. Um, I wonder how long like this kind of niche area, if they don't have a quality product, do people over time like say just say, oh, it's KZ, this thing's gonna break after 3 months, or the glue's gonna fall off, or
Right.
it sounds
I think
terrible,
people
so every
expect them
brand
to
is
break.
terrible.
But you'll be surprised. I speak to a lot of people. They don't care. They just like, if it breaks, I just buy another. It's so cheap that I can just buy another one. If the cable breaks, I just buy a $10 cable. So
Yeah,
like there are a lot of people who really don't mind. They just want it. They just want a cheap and good deal. That's all they care about. For the people
And
who buy those that are under $100, yes.
Yeah,
and
well-
that's the other thing. Like, why would you spend more money? Like, as a company, as a Chi-Fi company, why would you spend more money to buy a to put it on the quality side of the product when your life cycle is so short, right? People expect them to break, and they are going to break in 3 months, so they're just going to move on to something else or buy another one.
yeah,
And in US, you have companies like headphones.com with a year return policy. Oh, that's why they don't carry Chi-Fi, or just like I don't know. Maybe we have Taryn here to talk about why he doesn't like Chi-Fi, but I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he doesn't carry them, because
yeah.
if that shit's gonna break within the year, then he's gonna have to return it.
He's pretty
and
reluctant
that-
on what they carry because of that return policy, and that's
Yeah,
why he only
so-
carries right now like Moondrop, and he's looking at like QDC, as a potential, because those are products that I think that they believe will last longer than just a month, and expecting a
Well, yeah,
million
except
returns.
that the Moondrop is on a half-year release cycle. So what's there to stop me from returning my old Moondrop flash and buying a new one?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't abuse it, and they have they have
They have an
ways to
escalating-
deter that kind of practice. But still,
Yeah.
people can still do that. I can do that twice. I can return the SA and buy the new flagship. He will give me all my money back. Well, part of it at least, but that's still good, right? I'm leasing an IEM. That's
Yeah.
still lost on their part. Like, that's still lost on headphones.com's part, because now they got a used Moondrop SA that they probably can't sell for too much money.
Yeah, the margins aren't very high on a lot of this Chi-Fi
Yeah.
stuff.
So it's not a model just for the online retailers, because
Yeah,
but
I think they also
consumer is
mentioned
not a good
shipping
deal.
costs is very in
Yeah.
shipping costs like is more than the product in some cases.
yeah. But I think we're towards the end of this conversation. As I don't know if anybody else have anything to say about. I think probably you shouldn't post this on Reddit or anywhere else.
That's like that's like, I mean, if the people like it, it's fine. They enjoy it and stuff. But
I don't care what people enjoy. People enjoy a lot of things. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying is
that's fine.
this model is not a sustainable, nor is it a natural model for
Yeah, but
how
the
a
model-
product should be.
the model is unfortunately driven by the consumers, because the consumers, be it uninformed, or they don't care, and they are directly or indirectly driving it.
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to blame the consumers. I think everybody is to blame, but at the same time, that there's nothing I'm just talking about this problem because I'm not part of this the cycle uh, of Chi-Fi, you know. And some of us here are, Anthony. Chill.
I mean, I personally have taken advantage of it, obviously, but also from the standpoint of trying to not being someone who liked IEMs to begin with. Like I've mentioned many times, I'm not a huge IEM fan and never really was, but having the ability to buy a bunch of relatively cheap IEMs all at the same time gives me, gave me a different perspective on IEMs. Like finding the right fit was like when I first bought IEMs, I never got them to fit right, and having didn't realize that they came in different shapes and sizes and tips and all that, and having budget things to try out gave me that experience to figure out that, oh, some of these fit better than others. That's why I never liked them before, and then try and figure out what my preferred sound signature for an IEM was. But
Well, you know, such as the sad life of a Western
yep,
portable audio
that's,
enthusiast.
that is the issue with being in the U.S. and Europe, where you don't have the stores to go visit and try out.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's why I really don't blame the consumer when it comes to that, because you know that's not their fault for.
Yeah, it's not, but it's just a mentality. I mean, in Singapore, there are still a lot of people who just, just under $100, and if it works, it's fine. And they do fund. They actually buy a new IEM every now and then. Well, it's still cheaper than buying a VX, for sure. But in the end, they do spend quite a bit of money over time. Yeah, because they.
I think, and I think you brought up a good point. Maybe the last point is that people are very willing to spend like 10 increments of $50 than one increment of $500.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Anyone.
But like in the long run, I understand that, and I am very against the fact. And I always tell people, if you have to save up for IEM, you shouldn't buy that IEM. But at some point, but at a point that somebody is going to buy $10-$50 IEMs, and in their mind they're spending less money over time. It's like that
It's a lot.
I saw like 60.
Yeah.
Dude, did you know that Affirm company on 64 audio? You can pay monthly for your 64 audio IEMs now.
Yeah.
I thought it was ridiculous. I'm like, you don't take out a mortgage for your IEM.
Yeah.
You take out a mortgage for your fucking house. You don't save up for your IEM.
We
you
live
save
in-
up to
Musicians
buy
are poor.
a car.
We live in a credit.
Are you
We live in a credit world,
like?
man.
Yeah, but that's not something you buy with credit, man. That's crazy. I
Yeah.
know we're all about a credit society, right?
Yeah.
You know what? You know what you buy on credit? You buy houses and cars. That's like I'm preaching like responsible spending, right?
I mean,
Which
you
is
are the
like,
finance guy, so yeah.
I know, but I find it crazy, and because like I literally do this. I'm like, are we start financing IEMs now? People take out a loan for IEMs now. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with like if you can't afford it, just don't. Dude, that's just like not
But
responsible
you can make
when it comes to
6 easy
You could buy a
payments of
car.
$50.
I mean, like I mean, like for like I think again, like that's going back to like maybe that's not a Chi-Fi issue.
Yeah, it's going back to glasses, right? Like why I use glasses to compare, because it's the same. You only can wear one pair of glasses at one time, right? And some people want different pair of glasses for different day. One per day to pair with your outfit. Whatever.
Wait, Ken, do you have more than one pair of glasses?
I do.
How
many pairs of glasses do you have?
I have 2 now.
Okay, fine. That's okay. That's acceptable.
So
I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna have 10.
so my wife
No.
I'm gonna probably get in trouble for this, but my wife has like 10 pairs of glasses for different outfits.
Yeah, but she's a girl. She's
And
a
she
lovely
has-
lady.
she has-
And girls like get like again, call me sexist. They're allowed to do that.
She has 3 pairs of headphones for different outfits too.
Okay, that's less okay.
and they're the
Well,
same ones, just different colors.
I get a new pair of glasses every 1 to 2 years, but now I used to, just because my prescription gotten worse and worse. But now that it's not getting worse, I have getting less often. So how many pairs of glasses I have? If I want to dig around, probably like 7 or 8, but they're different prescriptions. That's why glasses are different. Like I have one pair of glasses that I wear. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's like necessity. You wear it on your face every single day.
Yeah,
So
that's
once you have more than one, it kind of really defeats the purpose of it, right? It makes it less. Your first pair of IEM is great, and every single other pair out aside from that first pair of the same quality kind of diminishing the value of it. As much as I hate those words, right?
It does.
So
a little
if you
bit.
keep buying the same pair of glasses with the same amount, like if your prescription gets worse, of course it's fair to buy a new pair of glasses because you're trying to see, right? Just like an IEM. If you want more better IEMs, if your taste gets like more expensive, you want to buy more expensive IEMs. But if you keep buying $50 IEMs, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, but I will say that, like you mentioned before, technology in IEMs and improvements in IEMs have rapidly grown in the last 4 years or so. So the next $50 IEM may have newer things in them. Like right now, what's
Okay.
the new right now the new thing in like the budget is beryllium coated drivers or diamond like carbon or whatever it's called. And
Okay,
those are the
you are
new.
the material scientist. You know DLC does not mean anything.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, you know, like, what is DLC? Tell me. Diamond coated carbon. What is that? What is that? You're the material scientist right here. You literally have a freaking master there. It does not mean anything, right?
Diamond like
It's
carbon. So yeah, carbon is carbon, and diamond is just 64 carbon atoms linked together. So diamond like carbon is just carbon.
it's just very
At
thin
least it
piece
might
of
be. I
carbon
don't
that I
know.
put on their driver, which
Yeah.
does make it more rigid, but it also does not mean anything.
Yeah.
That is not a new technology. It's just a marketing buzz phrase for all sense of the word that you. So I shame on you, Anthony. Shame on you for bringing that up, because you know that shit means nothing.
It may so. I mean, we can go deep into materials talk, but I don't know exactly what they do because they don't. The marketing information is just marketing information. But if you can get to a thinner, stiffer driver, then you can potentially get better control on your, your overall sound profile because the diaphragm the quality of your control is based on the stiffness of your driver.
Fine, fair enough. Like, and you make a point. Yeah, technology moves, and then things become cheaper. Your $50 IEM might be better like years later. And here's my counter argument, right? It's been 3 years since the A series from QDC. Has any Chi-Fi gotten to that point yet? That's cheaper. It's been 3 years, and it's very old technology.
I haven't listened to it, so I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Like, have you listened to anything that's like asking the Singapore boys? And nothing is better than A series. It's been 3 years. Has technology really improved to that point that you can buy something that's better than? Can you really buy something even for $1,000 that's better than something that's 1.5K? No.
only Dawn, which you said, exception
Well,
of that.
that's a thing for a different time.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
sure. So
Yeah.
because I want to finish that on what I was saying just now, because like there's reason for glasses is fashion. People can use it for fashion, and but as you use the word necessity, like if you don't have glasses, you can't goddamn see, right? And even then you talk about quality. So like I have gone through lousy glasses 20 years ago, like of course uninformed. I do not know better 20 years ago, and I bought cheap glasses. And now today it's like, would I want to buy blind something that I can't test? Like no way, because like I like this. Why do you want to go to and buy poor quality stuff? Risk of getting poor quality stuff for $1,000 is absurd.
Can I have I blind bought my glasses.
Yeah, but how much are they?
It's about like $100.
Yeah. You see, so you buy Chi-Fi that's $100, sure.
No, they're from Japan. They're Weeaboo glasses.
Sure. But like when your glasses cost what around $1,000, then it's like, no, you don't buy it. Like you say, like you buy it and like you put it on and you convince and convince yourself that it's awesome and it's great, or and whatever prescription nonsense you have to go through, you have to get people to validate your purchase is awesome. Like, hell no, you don't do that for glasses, so you don't do that for IEM.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that
We're not that lucky over here.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think to a point that you could try a lot of these high-end stuff. Maybe not the Chi-Fi. So I think like the thing is like if you want anybody want to get anything out of this, just don't buy Chi-Fi. Like unless why would you like no like that's still silly, right? If you can't try, why would you buy it?
Yeah.
No,
Right? There are IEMs in the same like price range that you can ask audio stores to give you a loaner. You have to put a freaking down payment down, obviously. So a lot of times it's worth, I mean, not the cheap shit, $50, whatever, right? That's whatever. But like $1,000 Chi-Fi when you want to blind buy, there are other things on the market that's proven and you can also try. That company are willing to give you an open box loaner that you can try, for little to no amount of money.
Yeah, you
So
just
why
get
take the
and you pay for
blind
the
shot in the dark to buy the Chi-Fi when you have like good American IEMs that you get? No, I'm just kidding. But you have the things that you can try. That's my point of it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm for the opinion of make an informed decision. Like it's fine if you try the Chi-Fi, you love it. It's fine. Just the same thing like for glasses. You can try $100, you love it. $1,000, you will love it. Whatever. As long you like it, it's all great. More
I'm gonna stop you right here. I think this is getting the end of it, and until Ken gets more of his glasses talk. He really loves his glasses, by the way.
We're gonna have a special episode on glasses.
Our next, but this is it here. We're gonna end it until next time on glasses podcast. Ken's gonna tell you all about his glasses that he bought. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.